Flashback.
I went with the most basic, cheap, super uber build.
Stop the cap!
Oh my god! Yes! Wow, that actually hella worked. Dude! There you go. Dumb cheap build.
End of Flashback.
Apparently, I do not have the cheapest Uber build in the game. I made a video previously where I thought I did have the cheapest build, and that was with the Frenzy Barbarian. However, for the comment shout out for this video, it's actually the inspiration as well. And this comes from Fritz, who was able to give me a complete rundown from the helmet, armor, ammi rings, weapons, you name it. Everything that is needed for this build. And I'm gonna go ahead and see just how well it can actually run against the Ubers. I'm gonna go ahead and make this very clear before we continue. I do not play a Smiter at all. I think maybe a total of an hour I have played a Smiter. It's just not my play style. It's just not the character that I want to actually play. However, I respect how well they can be against the Ubers, just how OP you can really make them. Now, when it comes to actually showing off the build, the first half is going to be an actual build guide going over attributes, skill tree, gear, all that stuff. However, when it comes to the actual gameplay, there's going to be a lot of jump cuts. And the reason for that is it took over 3 hours to play the entire run from starting with Izual all the way to actually getting my torch on players 1. This character is definitely one that you actually kill everything one by one. So when it came to, like, for example, hunting Lilith, I had to go through each one of the rooms, and when I was ambushed, I tried to get them caught in the door and just kill them one by one, because this is a character that you can easily get swarmed in, despite how well you can actually boost the character up with resistances and being able to have a really good shield, using Holy Shield, all that. You can still get 1 or 2 shotted very easily. So you want to make sure that you are actually playing smart, and I'm not going to subject you guys to 3 hours, which I think only an hour and 42 of it was something that I can actually use for a video. Bruh. And I'll go over more of those details after the entire run. But again, I just wanted to make this little disclaimer before we continue further, so that way you guys don't just watch this and feel that this is a ridiculous video. It's kind of a build guide with a review at the end, and I'll give you my opinions on it. Let's go ahead and jump right into the video.
Not even death can save you from me.
Greetings, mortals. I knew you would find your way back here.
So as you can see on the screen, it was players 1. Just logged back in. I didn't change anything after I actually did the run. First thing we're going to go over is the attributes. Now, it's just a simple setup, something that you see on most of the builds, which is you're going to be dumping as much as you can into vitality after you're able to put enough into strength to be able to equip gear. And for this one, because we are going to be smiting, we want to make sure that we have enough points into dexterity to get 75% chance of blocking. And so for any of you guys that are wanting to try it, what we do is go to, for example, dexterity. You want to make sure that you have a chance to actually block. So let's see. There you go, 75%. So all you're going to do is 75, take it off, keep going. And the reason I have to actually take off the points now is because I eventually swapped my shields depending on who I was actually fighting, because I didn't need cannot be frozen depending on who I was actually playing. So for example, all you do is you just, there you go. So now I'm at 74, add 1, now you get 75, dump the rest in. So I'll show you the shield later on, but you want to have enough just to equip your gear, enough for the 75% chance of block, and then dump the rest into vitality, because your health pool is going to be so low going into this that Mephisto can easily one-shot you without even trying. Lilith can easily one-shot you without even trying. It is a build that is very fragile, so you want to make sure that you have as much into what you need as possible, just the bare minimum, nothing more, and just dump the rest into vitality. Now, when it comes to the skill trees, I'm going to go from the bottom up. So combat skills, The main skill that we're going to use is Smite. So I put 20 into Smite, and I put 1 into Charge, 1 into Holy Bolt, 1 into Blessed Hammer to be able to unlock Holy Shield, and I maxed that out because it is going to be able to help with getting even more damage, and it's going to make it to where hopefully they'll die just a little bit sooner, because obviously the damage we're going to be doing is so very low by comparison to a Godly Smiter, for example. And when you see the gear, you're going to completely understand what I'm talking about for that. So you want to make sure that you have Holy Shield and Smite maxed out. Now when it comes to offensive auras, the 2 things that you're going to be really putting a lot of your points into are Conviction and Fanaticism. Now, Conviction, I went and maxed it out, and there is a skiller for offensive auras in my inventory, so that's why you see it at level 21. Granted, if you were to have it at 20, you would have yours and Mephisto's Conviction cancel each other out. However, if you have something with +1 to skills for either offensive auras or just paladin skills overall, you can get level 21 Conviction and override his convictions. That way it'll only work on him. Now I'll come back to Fanaticism in just a second, but the next thing we're going to do is defensive skills. And so I went and maxed out Defiance because it is a synergy for Holy Shield. And with the rest of the points, I went and dumped them into Fanaticism just to be able to make it to where my damage is going to be maxed out the best that I can, because when it comes to killing Diablo and Baal, you're going to be able to use Fanaticism. However, when it comes to Mephisto, you are going to be using Conviction the entire time. So it is something that you need to make sure that you have all your points into exactly what is needed. For example, Conviction, Smite, Holy Shield, Defiance, and then just dump the rest that you can into Fanaticism, unlocking everything else to be able to get to Fanaticism, which is Might, Blessed Aim, Concentration, and then from here, Holy Fire, Holy Freeze, Thorns, Sanctuary to unlock Conviction. Now when it comes to the gear, this is where it gets super uber budget. None of the runes are above IO, and they can all be farmed from Nightmare Countess. The rest of the gear can be collected on the way going through and beating hell. I'm going to go through this pretty quickly because most of it is self-explanatory and is not going to be needing of a ton of explanation. So starting from the top, we have a 3 open socket crown with 2 IS jewels and then 1 rare jewel that had enhanced damage along with a few other mods. The Ami ring combination is all for being able to boost my res. So we have 22 all res on the Ami with some strength, and then 15 res and 14 res for the rings. The body armor is just 4 open socket armor that I ended up finding with Ral or Tal full to be able to boost all my resistances. When it comes to the shield, this is where I said earlier I kind of change them out depending on who I'm actually fighting. So for example, this is the one that I eventually started out with, and this was Sacred Targe that had 30 all res on it, and then I added 3 perfect gems to be able to boost my resistances even farther. For the weapon, I'm using a flail with the Rumor Black in it for extra IAS, some enhanced damage, attack rating, but especially the Crushing Blow. For the gloves, just a set of really nice blood gloves that I was able to craft a long time ago that I finally found some use for. And they really do help when it comes to adding a little bit of IAS, and especially the dual leech. The perfect Crushing Blow on it is incredibly helpful as well to be able to get me to 50% Crushing Blow. For the belt, something with a little bit of FHR, just so that way I'm not going to be stun locked when it comes to being surrounded and not being able to escape if I need to. And the boots are 30 faster run walk, and that's it. Nothing super extravagant, no uniques, no sets used on this at all. Now on Switch, we have a life tap wand, and as you can see, I did end up using 91 charges to be able to complete this run from start to finish, because at this point, hopefully you've already gotten the understanding that I have already completed the run, and I'm just showing you what I was actually able to use after the fact. So really critical to make sure that you have, because as many rejues as you can have in your inventory, it is not going to be enough. And I'll go over that later after the example run that I'll show after this. And then for the shield, I have a Rhyme shield for Cannot Be Frozen, boost to res, so another shield that had 30 all res on it as well. Helps with blocking as well, and depending on who you're fighting, this is where I would swap and use this shield instead, and then I would have to go into the inventory. So let's go ahead and use Holy Shield. Now you want to make sure that you have, okay, so 75%, and then I could boost up my, or I could take in some of my dexterity and put it back into my vitality. So that way I have a little bit more life, because again, it is going to be very difficult to survive in some areas, which is how incredibly fragile your character is. So granted, doing this with having the Rhyme Shield, it did wreck my resistances, which is why, again, I tried to fight with as much as I could this shield over the Rhyme Shield, and I didn't have any all-res small charms to be able to use or anything as far as boosting my res for the character. I wanted to keep this simply as budget as possible, none of that, with the exception of for the inventory. I have 1 to offensive auras to be able to get my conviction to 21. The rest of it is just 20 to life small charms for half of my inventory. And then I used the rest of the space to fill up with rejuves for the extra stats. We have here the 50% chance of crushing blow and 65% increased attack speed. So obviously you're going to be attacking as fast as freaking possible. For the Merc gear, again, super budget. I just found whatever 4 open socket armor aside from what I was wearing and put the exact same Ral or Tal Thul to be able to boost his res, a 3 open socket tiara with everything that you would need as far as, I don't feel the poison is incredibly helpful, so I just needed Ral or Thul, and then I used Malice. Now, the original comment did not go over, unless I completely just missed it, they did not go over the Merc gear that you would need. This is really necessary to have your Merc have Malice, because you need the Ubers to bleed. You need them to not recover their health. This was probably the biggest issue, and I could have finished this a lot sooner, except my Merc was 1 or 2 shotted almost every single time. I was able to use rejuves and just chug them and give it to him, but if I was not fast enough, he would die instantly. But if he was able to hit with Malice, it would give me a little bit of opportunity to be able to start actually getting their health down, because otherwise, again, as I stated, Crushing Blow only helps with, I usually go with the first half of the fight because it's chunking out a huge percentage. But once you get down to the lower half of the health, it only goes off of the health they have remaining. So if it is the full health, take off 12.5%, that is a huge amount. But if they're at half health, then the 12.5 starts to have a diminishing return. So you need something that has good base damage, or you need something that's going to allow the Ubers to bleed. So this is why I chose a Malice and a pole arm to give to my Merc, and the whole goal was just to keep him alive as much as I could, because I could keep myself alive for quite a bit of it with the life tap without having to use rejuves. Unfortunately, I did die quite a bit doing this, but the main thing was if I can get my Merc to stay alive, he would give me the better chance of being able to smite the Ubers completely to death. But with that said, that's all the gear that I used. That is the strategy that I used. So let's go ahead and jump into some gameplay. Again, it is going to be jump cutted because I'm not going to subject you guys to an hour and 40 plus minutes. So let's go ahead and check it out.
brothers will not have died in vain. My brothers will not have died in vain.
Now in the end, as Fritz was able to get his torch, I think Lou was able to get mine. He got a really good sword torch from what he said. Unfortunately, I got a really trash paladin torch. The main thing with this is I just wanted to show that this build could actually work and to kind of review it from my personal standpoint, because again, I don't play a Smiter at all, but I do appreciate just how good they can be against Ubers. Now, some of the things that happened when it came to actually running this character through Ubers.
Did you do it? What did it cost?
I ended up spending over 3 million in gold to revive my Merc. I chugged over 400 rejuves, and that's not including just for the rejuves I used for me, that's including the rejuves for my Merc as well. I had 78 trips back to town, and that could be for being able to reslot my rejuves, for reviving my Merc, for being able to repair my flail, because I couldn't even keep track of how many times the flail broke. Now when it comes to recommending this build, no, I do not recommend this build to anybody at all, unless you have the time, patience, resources, and you just simply want to see how powerful a Smiter can be with absolute low tier gear. But overall, it was a build that could work. So for Fritz's sake, yes, this is the cheapest Ubers build that you can build. Hats off to you for being able to come up with the build and to be able to actually run it yourself. And it seems like you enjoyed the build. Unfortunately for me, I did not. It was, again, 3 hours, and I ended up feeling like,
Dude, what's wrong? Carpal tunnel! Carpal tunnel! It's oh Jesus, he's got it bad! Quick, we need Ben Gang!
that's going to be the end of the video, and I hope you guys enjoyed it and were able to learn something new, especially when it comes to finding quite the low-tier, super uber budget build to be able to go through the ubers. This is something that you can use with Nightmare gear, however, I do not recommend it. If you like this content and want to see more, please hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification to be notified whenever a new video comes out. And if you like this video, please go ahead and give it a like. I hope you guys are staying safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.